is when we're at the parasternal long axis, we're gonna go ahead and do 2D measurements, and we're also going to do color, okay? And so I'm gonna talk to you about this. My vascular students already know how to do color, all right? But I am gonna talk to you about this. I want you to play with it, and then when we come back into lab on after the 14th, on the week of the 21st, we're gonna start doing color, okay? Color's very easy because right now we're just placing that color with what we're looking at, okay? So let's do M modes here. So I do suggest, I have given you shown you a hint of what you can do if you're holding that particular image. I don't know if you guys are ready for that, but if you want to try to practice that, you can. Otherwise, I would just freeze and do your M modes individually. So see how I kind of turned down that right ventricle. If you haven't seen this yet, I'm going to talk to you guys about this for Thursday lab. We're going to do this today. All right, so here's M mode of the aorta. So off of the R wave, leading edge to leading edge. I don't have my glasses on, so it may be a tad bit off. Aortic cusp separation. And left atrium. Measure off. Go to your mitral valve. I like that one right there. We're going to start looking at your values as well. So D to E. Again, I want to see where my anterior and posterior leaflet meet. If I were to come over here, you can see I'm getting 0.12. So let's say I go ahead and put that in. It's in the system, okay? So you just put that in the system. So what I'm gonna teach you guys is that I don't want you to hit enter until you look at what your number is, because if we do this, then it's already in the system. So what you need to do, and it's okay, sometimes if somebody comes in and they're talking to me, or whenever you sit down to do the echo, you want to wipe your mind free of whatever you're thinking about and focus on this. That's what our patient deserves. And absolutely, there are times that I'm focusing on something else and I get values that I shouldn't be getting. You're going to have to correct those. You don't want to send that to the physician. If you can correct it then that's what you want to do, is correct it then. So you simply just go up to this, right click it, and then you're going to delete this measurement, right? It doesn't typically go into the system. We'll have to look at different systems, so you'll have to look. So we'll go into worksheet, and you can see that it didn't take anything, because I'll have a whole bunch of pages of worksheet, but I've only done one measurement here. So therefore it didn't take it. So that's good. So now we're going to do this again. And I'm going to look at that value and say, okay, I am greater than 18, so that's good. I'm at 100 here. Then you go over here to this EPSS. So once you've learned what to measure and where to measure, this is going to get quicker for you, okay? But when you're sitting down here, you've got to know what to measure and where to measure, and then that way it'll get quicker for you to be able to do this. Measure off. If you hit freeze during any of this time, it's going to unfreeze all of these images that you've saved. I've done that. I've done that on accident. You just have to capture it again. So don't be like, sitting and panicking. That's the other thing that I'm going to be looking for when you are sitting down here, is making sure you're not and making sure you're not panicking because the patient doesn't know any different. And so we want to make sure that we remain calm while we're doing the study. And if we're messing up and not able to get the images, we don't want to let our patient know that. Okay? So off of the R wave. And this will come to you in regards to where you measure this. This is going to take some time, okay? But I'm looking at that. That's 23. I think she's got a good right ventricular size. Septum is normal. I think that's chordae tendineae. So I'm going to come to here. Left ventricle is the right size, and then we don't want to include the pericardium. And then follow this up. And here is our LVIDS. You always want to store when you're done. So here's your values: 23 for your right ventricle, 7 for your septum, 45 for your LVIDD, 9 for your posterior wall, 25 for your LVIDS, which gave us a 46% fractional shortening. So you can see we're a little bit higher, but that's okay. I just don't want to go above 50, right? So we make sure we took a picture of that. If you're not sure, then take another one. But I always, when I hit store, I watch for it to pop up here, okay? So if you'll look, see how it pops up there? My eyes are kind of going back and forth and watching it pop up there, right? So now I'm actually going to go back to this two-dimensional image here, and when I go back to the two-dimensional image to measure, if I hit freeze, it's going to go back away. So what I want you to do is, when you go to this to measure your two-dimensional measurements, you have to hit 2D right here. And we're going to scroll it back. It's already scrolled back all the way. All right, so pay attention to your mitral valve. Rapid filling, slow filling, atrial kick, and boom. Mitral valve is closed, aortic valve is closed. Measure. I'm going to kind of draw this line here. That's how I want to measure it, is right there. Now we have to be careful. This is trabeculation from the right ventricle. So if I were to start up here, I'm going to make her appear to be thickened. And so I think this is the measurement where I'm going to measure here, because again, this is trabeculation. So when we have that two-dimensional image, we're looking at that two-dimensional image and saying, okay, does this patient look thick? Does their right ventricle look dilated? Does their left atrium look dilated? Does their aorta look dilated? So that when we get ready to measure, that we are making that decision of making sure that your numbers fit what you're seeing on 2D. And just practicing with this machine is how you're going to learn it. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. I'm paying attention to this wall coming up. Valve opens, I back it up. We always want to look at our images, make sure that we've captured what we want, make sure that we're looking at making sure that we can see the anatomy so that the physician can diagnose. Right, so that's your midterm exam. And then, of course, I want you to practice your end modes. Again, when you're practicing, do them right after your PLA. So do end modes and 2D measurements. Okay? All right, one last thing that I'm gonna talk to you about where to put this region of interest, but you just hit color, and here's your region of interest. If you just hit one of these enter buttons, you can make it wider and shorter. The issue with frames per second is the wider you go, the lower your frames per second are. And so I don't want to go very wide. This really doesn't make that much of a difference, but I don't want to go very wide, okay? And so we're going to talk about in class, starting on Tuesday or Thursday, probably Thursday, because Tuesday is our exam, right? Tuesday is our exam, okay. And so we're going to talk about where to place this, okay? And so, again, you just hit the word color. With your trackball is how you move it. And if you want to change the size or the region of interest, it's called ROI, then we just hit one of these enter buttons and move with our trackball to change the size, okay? Once I get a size, I really don't change it much, okay? Because if I change it every single time, then it's gonna take me a long time. So if you'll see that once I get this color box where I want it, and I always want it as small as possible with it covering what I need to cover. Then I don't typically change it. I move it, but I don't typically change the box size. I like to kind of keep my box size. I'm gonna show you guys where all to put this, but I'm just kind of showing you that once you have your image, then color's the next thing that we do. Little bit of TR, very tiny amount. I doubt a physician would even call it.